Celibacy or sexual abstinence is on the rise, mostly voluntary and some involuntary. We are overall having less sex than the previous generations, and some of us are foregoing sex altogether. So why is this trend on the rise? Why are more and more people choosing to not have sex? And could it maybe benefit you too? My name is Helena Nista and I make videos that help you have the best sex of your life. And today we're discussing why celibacy is a growing trend in the modern society. So what is happening? What is behind this growing trend of people not having sex or not having as much sex? So what we know for certain is that the modern environment where the young people are entering the adulthood these days is quite different than what it was for the previous generations. So some of the aspects that are impacting on young people's lives nowadays and their romantic/sexual lives are things like gaming and social media and their prevalence in our modern lives. When these young people spend so much time scrolling through social media or playing computer games or both, relationships, especially romantic or sexual relationships, aren't quite as important to them. There's also a higher awareness around asexuality as a phenomenon that touches a percentage of people, and more people identifying as asexual, so having no interest in being sexual. These young people also don't drink as much alcohol as their parents and grandparents did, and so that also can contribute to them not engaging sexually with others as often. Plus, also the growing popularity of rough sex and rough sexual acts, like for example choking, are contributing to many people, particularly women, to opt out of sex altogether because of fear of being subjected to this kind of acts. This also ties in together with the concept of orgasm gap, of which we are all more and more aware of. If women orgasm on average a lot less than men do, then they seem to be less inclined to want to engage in sex because of that. And for others, there are also religious reasons impacting their decision to either not be sexual or to become sexual later in their lives. So you might be familiar with the term incel, which describes a person who is unable to find a partner for a romantic or sexual connection or both. So they are forced to be celibate despite the fact that they desire the opposite. Incels make up about 3% of the US population, but that's not really who we are talking about here today. That voluntary celibacy, the fact of choosing, making a conscious choice to be celibate and not engage with other people intimately or sexually, is a choice that more and more people make, and these days about 16% of women and 9% of men in the US are making that kind of a choice. And that choice can be made for the rest of their lives or for a particular period of time, depending on the preference of each particular person. And there are many different reasons for making that kind of a choice that can seem drastic to some people or quite normal and understandable for others. But a decision to not have sex can provide valuable benefits, like for example a much needed time for oneself, time for reflection, time for maybe healing, time for personal development before coming back to the dating/sexual world again. There are even some cases of celebrities discussing this topic and actually making that decision for themselves for a variety of reasons. For example, Lady Gaga declared some time ago that she was basically just not having sex at all because she was deciding to put her work first, and she just didn't want to be distracted from being more creative and efficient in her work. Another celebrity that chose to forego sex for a number of years is Lenny Kravitz, and his reasons were not feeling good about himself and about his player days, so leaving his player days behind and just waiting for the right person to come along that he would want to engage with intimately and sexually. So what are some of other common reasons behind people's decision to not be sexual with others? And I am specifically referring here to foregoing sex with other people, because masturbation is still something that many celibate people do and engage with, but just not connecting intimately or sexually with other people. Dating fatigue seems to be high on the list of things that drive people away from from sex and engaging sexually. Being on dating apps and the whole experience of trying to connect with others through dating apps can be a very unhealthy, frustrating, or even toxic environment to be in, with many people experiencing a lot of rejection, very heartless rejection at times, that can then drive them to feel poorly about themselves and not even wanting to engage with others and try dating again, hence the dating fatigue. A time of celibacy can be also about healing this kind of emotional wounds that we can sustain while dating, while being on dating apps, or while experiencing rejection or potential failures while we are pursuing our goal or dream of being in a relationship. So stepping away from that world and taking a break from that world and just being celibate and not even dating for a while can be helpful in doing some healing on yourself, some self-care, and also coming maybe to a better or higher level of clarity around what your goals actually are. What are you actually looking for in terms of your dating life and future relationship? This decision can be also linked to that rough sex that I mentioned before, not wanting to be a part of a situation where rough sex is happening, or even pornified sex. So realizing that so many people these days watch porn and then try to enact similar acts in their own bedrooms, which doesn't always work very well and can end up poorly in terms of lack of satisfaction, lack of pleasure, lack of orgasms in the bedroom, etc. So this reason is more commonly encountered among women who do not want to be treated like porn actresses, who do not want to have the kind of sex that we can watch in porn. And so their decision here can be that if that's the sex that's on offer, then they'd rather just not have any. And it is also a perfectly valid reason to just take time off dating, off sex, and just to focus on oneself in terms of self-care or pursuing personal development or pursuing career goals or business building, etc. It can be just a time where we just want to focus on what's important to us and not get distracted by either sex or pursuit of sex through typically the dating world and dating apps, which can be really time consuming. So that kind of increased focus on oneself can lead to healing anything that maybe needs healing from past connections or relationships. It can lead to an increased sense of self-identity, self-confidence. It can also allow us to cultivate other areas of our lives that are important but maybe were neglected due to our focus on the relationships in our lives. And if that's a choice that a person makes for themselves to not have sex for all of these reasons, they can really lead to being in a healthier place in terms of what we want, who we are, what we're looking for, and then that can actually lead to healthier relationships in the future. There are also unhealthy reasons to become celibate and to forgo sex, and one of them is fear of vulnerability and intimacy. So if we are scared of being ghosted or rejected, and we're basically so focused on the pain that could potentially come with, and often does come with dating, then we could just try to avoid the whole experience altogether and become celibate for that reason. But this kind of making decisions in our life and about our romantic and sexual lives from a place of fear and scarcity, when it comes to fearing that we're not gonna be able to achieve or obtain or create what we want, that is actually very unhealthy and typically leads to loneliness and even isolation. And this is because humans are social creatures. We need other people, we need human connection to be well and healthy and to thrive in our lives. And of course, we do not need sex or a sexual romantic connection. Like, we can find that with our family and friends, but avoiding sex and relationships out of fear that bad things could happen, that we might get rejected, etc., that's just counterproductive, because rejection and vulnerability and intimacy, these are things that come with human contact. And occasionally feeling rejected or unloved it can just happen when we are in touch with other people. So that kind of fear or avoidance shouldn't be behind our big decisions in life. Some people also simply just give up on dating, on relationships, and on sex. And they become celibate from that kind of place of bitterness and cynicism about human connection and connecting romantically / sexually with other people. But similarly to avoiding rejection and avoiding intimacy or vulnerability, living our lives from a place of bitterness or cynicism or giving up isn't really a recipe for a healthy, happy life. It more so leads to resentment and unfulfillment. So if this is something that you are feeling and experiencing in your life, it might be a good idea to speak to a therapist about your situation. And so what all of that means is that it is important to be intentional about the decisions that we make in our lives. It is a perfectly valid decision to choose to be celibate, to forego sex, to not connect with another person on that intimate sexual level. But that decision should come from a healthy place, from a place of seeking yourself, better connection with yourself, maybe healing, maybe focusing on things that are important for you in your life, etc. Not from a place of bitterness, cynicism, or giving up. And if you would like to find out what are the best ways to find love this year, then make sure to watch this video next.